This is the Andre Segovia Show.
Well, greetings everyone. I'm just making sure the sound test is going through. Usually the sound issues happen over on Rumble, so hopefully that's not causing any issues. Just a moment, let me check the stream. All right, there's a few of you tuning in on Rumble. Thank you very much. This is going out to those of you on Rumble, Substack, and YouTube. So I appreciate you all tuning in. This was supposed to be a there's a call coming through. Hold on. Sí, no creo que rebotó, no. Sí, no creo. Okay. Is it playing? The heck? External. Okay. All right. Should be up. For some reason, it's not. Okay, there we go. What's that about? Okay. All right. Sorry for those of you on Rumble. It was bouncing back and forth between things, but it looks like the audio is cutting through just fine. And also on YouTube. All right. Well, today was supposed to be a tech type stream. That's not happening. What everybody's been talking about for the past 36 hours now, it feels, was what, 28 hours? Charlie Kirk being assassinated. And then today is the remembrance of the 24 years since the 9/11 attacks, the first one. And then a few years after that, there was the other 9/11 attacks, which were in Benghazi. I had a write-up I was going to do for Benghazi that due to yesterday's events, I could not even focus on being able to do. I was going to do a fact check on 13 myths about Benghazi since it's the 13th anniversary of it, and it still remains hyper politicized. And then, of course, there's the September 11th. But 2001, But with the tragic, awful, brutal, disgusting attack yesterday, uh, some people in the media, you probably heard about this, are trying to say it's both sides, and it's the political aisle, and it's not so. They really want it to be both sides because since the weekend, since the release of the local news pickup, I can't pronounce her name, but Ariana, the victim that was stabbed to death on the train for the crime of just sitting, minding her own business. This happened at the end of August, but local media got the CCTV footage, and more came out later as people were uploading the uncensored ones, and the more you saw, the more angry it made you as a human being if you have any shred of decency. So that was already heavy enough. And then I was in a meeting with an IT guy yesterday, and I was getting a text message. And usually I don't get anything from a family member of mine regarding anything political, because oftentimes whenever we did, we would find ourselves on opposite sides of the issue, but that wasn't the case this time. So as soon as I was done with the meeting, I checked my messages, and I'm like, what? He was informing me that Charlie Kirk was shot. And he also added that if like to pray for him, see if he survives this. So as soon as I opened X, that's all I saw. My feed was just of the gunshot to Charlie Kirk, and I'll just say this to Breaking 911. I hope it's not up. I tried not to look at your feed because we didn't need the slow-mo, zoomed-in version of it that you did later. That was completely uncalled for. We didn't need to be more aggravated and disgusted by that, and Charlie Kirk deserved better. But anyway, I done my share of mourning for the past 28 hours, and it's still today, like, I don't want to say I'm in denial. It's just that still feels surreal that it happened. Someone that I haven't met. I have been invited to TPUSA, mostly AmpFest, at the end of last year, and I turned these things down. For those of you on YouTube that are not used to me talking about anything outside of business and tech, then you're probably wondering what's this all about. That's why I'm on Rumble. I'm on Rumble because I'm able to speak my mind there without the continued censorship from YouTube. And I hate that it's even that, because that's what led to what happened yesterday. This didn't come out of the blue. This wasn't something that's like, oh my gosh, it's a one-off thing. It's all you got to do is just look back in the just past several months. Hell, go all the way back to July last year to what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, for you to get an idea that this is a common thing that anyone to the right of any left-leaning thought has to constantly be concerned about. And Blue Sky is a cesspool of what Twitter kind of used to be. But Blue Sky, some sections of Mastodon are just awful. But then I also saw this on X. I also saw some of this on Instagram of people gloating, celebrating. They got one. And here's to others. Like, what the hell? We know this, okay? It's just, and while some people may say, well, don't attribute motive since we don't exactly know the motive just yet. Let's say I grant you that, which is stupid, by the way, but let's say I grant you that. We know who's celebrating. We know who's asking for more of it. We saw that with Luigi and what he did to the health insurance CEO, whatever. And it's like, oh, but that wasn't a Republican. Yeah, but they attributed it to Republicans, and they cheered that on. Not to mention that then candidate President Trump was also shot at. Oh, can't attribute motive. And the same people that inflame and agitate and enrage then come to tell us that, oh man, we got to really bring the temperature down. You first? Why do you keep doing this? How many times do you have to? They go right back to vilifying, and some on the mainstream media have not changed their behavior one bit. That's why some of them are either placed on leave or lost their job or whatever. Look, there's something called decency. Some humans still have that. Common sense is not so common anymore, and there. I'm a firm believer in free speech. I don't like that some people are being canceled over some of the discourse that's happening over the past 24 hours. For those that are inciting violence, that's not free speech. It's not protected anywhere. But for those that are not agreeing, it's like I don't like the precedent that's also being set. So I want to be careful with all this because it's just it's a little it's a mad world. Let's just put it that way. It's a mad world. I covered this. A lot of the updates for news and commentary I do for my Instagram stories. So if you haven't followed me on Instagram, I recommend you go follow me over there. And that's where I give some behind the scenes to the show and all that. But I also do real-time updates about major stories. And in this case, one of them is the Charlie Kirk assassination, and also provide updates to the school shooting that occurred yesterday, because there was a school shooting. I think the suspect was 16-year-old Desmond Holly, took his own life after shooting a couple of students, I think. So, uh, how many more Christian Catholic school shootings need to happen before that other side finally tones down their rhetoric? And some on the right, sometimes will blame MK Ultra or whatever. Look, not everything's MK Ultra. Okay, this kind of evil has existed long before the CIA was ever invented. This kind of evil has existed long before guns were even a thing. Humans always found a way to harm other humans. It's been the same since the dawn of time. So all this talk about gun reform and all that stuff, the people that are trying to grandstand on this is absolutely stupid. They're trying to take advantage of any little thing to try to limit the Second Amendment, because that's what communists do. Once they get rid of the Second Amendment, then they implement whatever they want, because then they know the people cannot overturn the government. You can vote yourself into communism, but odds are you're shooting your way out of it. And that's what they're continually trying to grandstand and push for. Sorry, my voice is going to be a little wonky. That's why I'm not planning on streaming very long. It's been a very, very emotional time. And I didn't want to spend so much time on this either. It's just, well, it's this moment is historical in Charlie, someone that I have had some of my disagreements with him, but I always held him in high regard because I always felt he was a man of conviction. He stood firm in his positions. Sometimes I felt that he was a little weak on some of them. So I think you're compromising, Charlie. But I would say since mid 2023 or a little after 2023, I felt that he was becoming more firm, not being what they call like a squishy conservative or a squishy Christian, but it's like, no, there are truths that you stand firm on, and the truth itself is always going to offend people. So I did find that he was standing stronger in certain things because I felt he was compromising on others, like certain individuals that are invited as guest speakers to some of those events. I'm like, they should not be there. But I always respected him. That's for sure. And what I can say to what's transpired among what is the so-called MAGA community, but more so the right-wing influencers in the past, what is it, September? I would say the past 9 months, there's been a lot of infighting where it's like, oh, you're not real MAGA, and the ones that you are, you never been MAGA and stuff like that. I've been upset at having to keep our side in check more so than trying to hold the other side accountable. We have to hold everyone accountable, okay? But these infightings that have taken up all the energy and just block out what we should be paying attention to, which is local matters, state matters, and which is distracted by Washingtonian politics, it became frustrating for me. And I felt like I I can't support or follow certain personalities either. I mean, I unfollowed a ton of them, and I think it was last month or July that I pretty much completely disassociated from the Daily Wire. It just reached that point for me where I just couldn't. And after all this, I'm like I feel like, hey, we're gonna have our disagreements, but we're still in the same team. We still want what's better for the United States, for America, and as a people, as American people. And I don't just mean those on the right. I mean those that are. Uh, there's extremists on. You'll find extremists anywhere. Okay, you'll find extremists anywhere, whether it's religion or politics. There'll always be extremists. But it just feels it couldn't be more defined as to where Democrats and Republicans stand. But that doesn't mean there aren't people on either side that might feel like we still have room for civil discourse. That's what I've tried to do on my show as well. That's what I did with my partnership with Rumble, where the most entertaining discussion that I had was with an individual that technically is on the opposite side or aisle of where I stand. And my audience at the time was saying that was probably the best episode I've done, and they want more of it. We found ourselves agreeing more than we found ourselves disagreeing. It's just that we just had to block out the noise, So I'm not. I don't like that that some people are trying to now to completely disassociate themselves from one party or another. But I can tell you that there are the leaders of the Democrat Party and the mainstream media are responsible for what happened yesterday. They're responsible for inflaming and enraging a lot of things, and they're still doing so. They're still doing so. It wasn't long after, what was it, just a few days after President Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, and at the RNC, because his family was speaking, that the hosts of The View were saying they were trying to humanize Trump. Like, seriously? So these were like those hyenas on that show, and then the audience applauding just like seals. It's like that's concerning to me as someone that finds themselves a Trump supporter, because I always have to have my head on the swivel. I do. And Charlie, he knew that very well. What he did was always risky. He knew it, and he paid with his life. And it's really felt the shock is that this is what was considered a moderate among the right, where some on the right feel you're not strong enough on these positions, and the other ones like, hey, you're too soft, and that's who they killed. And and I'm to pray for his widow, to say that, Erica, and 2 young children. I'm a father of small children. I guess that's why it hit me harder, because look, I don't want to be catching my words so much anymore. For those of you on YouTube, you're my largest audience when it comes to the video platforms. You're my most engaged audience, and I appreciate all of you. Though even those of you that have disagreed with some of the takes that I've had on certain policies or tech videos that I've done, believe me, I appreciate you all the same. Because I'm just putting my perspective out there in an ocean of so many other perspectives. I just try to not be like those other ones, because I'm trying to be authentic, and I'm bringing my perspective as a small business owner, operator, and user of these things that has to actually spend the money on them and not being provided for by these corporations that are paying for flights, that are paying for these tech tubers to fly out to either Cupertino, to Mountain View, wherever it is that they're going, sometimes to another side of the world, and they're getting their hotels paid for except their meals, and we're expected to have a that wouldn't take, like, that wouldn't impact the opinions of some of these tech tubers. It's going to impact some way or another, because or else they lose all that. They lose all that access. We've seen that what happens with the Access Hollywood types. That if they so much as offend the studios, they would lose these access to these movies. They don't pay to go see these movies. They get paid to go see their movies and then shill for these places. And if they dare, have their own opinion that goes against or in my case, it feels like the House of Mouse owns everything, that they lose all this access. So as soon as they start losing it, they get upset and start voicing their displeasure. Collider looking at you. So I find that the same with with tech. I've tried to be authentic in all this, and people will accuse me. As recently, I did a bootlicking review for Unplugged. I don't care what you have to say to try to insult me, especially if you're new around here. That means you haven't looked at anything and you're making a judgment on it. Most of us would just look at a headline and judge it that way. I hope more people can actually dive deep into a subject. So I addressed individuals that always accuse me of such things, and like, hey, look, I point you to where it all began, and there's hours worth of content, and then you can make your judgment. And you still think it's bootlicking? Well, I can't help you. But one thing's for sure, I'm not carrying the water for anybody. But I won't hide who I like to see succeed. Um, so that's all to say that I've always tried to remain authentic, and I appreciate those of you that supported me, especially on YouTube. Nearing 4,000 subscribers finally, after being censored, throttled, shadow banned, and in many cases, it's been a very long journey. But it's not a place that invites this kind of conversation either. First off, live sucks on YouTube unless you already have a built-in massive following. That's why Rumble is the safer bet, and they actually believe in free speech. But I want to continue being able to have these free conversations with all of you. This stream, I cannot, and I wouldn't anyway, but the point is that I can't, because I'm going to get doxxed for my own theme song on YouTube. The rules are just insane. And I have to challenge this. And in 30 days, they'll say, and this is what's been happening, it's like, hey, you won. Yeah, I know. But that's the part of the course on YouTube. But anyway, that's all to say that there's always going to be disagreements, even on those small things. But as a society, we lost our ability to have civil discourse. Charlie exemplified civil discourse. And I had a conversation with my mother yesterday, because she didn't understand what all this was. She never heard of Charlie Kirk. And granted, she speaks Espanol only, so she was tuning into Univision, who never probably ever mentions Charlie Kirk. And if they do, it'll probably be the negative light because of the left-wing spin that Univision tends to do. And a lot of my community, Spanish-speaking community, only tunes into one news source, and it tends to be Univision. They say, oh, but we got Telemundo, which is pretty much run by Univision. So it's like you're still getting one thought through there. So anyway, as time went on, and she started hearing about these world leaders paying tribute to Charlie Kirk, she's like, who was this guy? And the way I described it to her is the same way I'll describe it to you. There was a time when Republicans, conservatives, and all that basically were giving up on the youth. And this actually goes to the church as well. The church they always said, we got to reach out to the youth, but they wouldn't do anything to actually reach out to the youth. They would just keep doing more of the same and shaming the youth if they're not, like, hey, you're not buying into this, then shame on you. You're a sinner. Go forth and sin. They would judge people like me, who instead of going to seminary school would actually go to a public university, which I did in 2003, something that I paid for myself. And in those adventures and interactions that I had, well, I felt alone. And the discourse in the church at the time was, everybody that goes to university is in direct disobedience to God or something like that, or just a lost cause. And then Republicans and conservatives were kind of saying the same thing. These were indoctrination centers. Don't go there. You go there, you're just going to lose your identity or whatever. Charlie Kirk didn't run away from that. Instead, he went there. And he was pretty much popping up a tent, setting up shop, and inviting individuals to have those conversations, to have discourse. First off, like, hey, Republicans, conservatives, you don't have to be ashamed of who you are. There are those of us that agree and believe in these things. But then also invited those that disagreed and say, hey, let's talk about it. Something that it's technically not done because the other side just shames us for having a different opinion. This happened to me when I was taking world cinema class at my local university, state university. It's I never experienced anything like this. I wasn't one to bring up politics, but believe me, I would finish it. So we were tasked for world cinema class. It was a summer class, and there's the library had these giant laser discs to watch some of these old timey movies. So we were supposed to watch old timey movies, but in this case, I think I was watching Citizen Kane, and yes, it was Citizen Kane. And we would go into this sound room, like it's just literally a very intimate setting with the screen, and you put the big old disc there, and then you watch it. This was like, man, 2006, I think. Wow, that's a long time ago. So anyway, and with the film, it was first come first serve, so you can barely fit two chairs in there. And I had gone to, or it was I think it was a weekend, and I went to go, pick the movie and go watch it. And I started playing it, and then there was someone knocking at the door, and it was a classmate. I recognized him. He sat closer to the front than I did, so I opened the door, and he asked me, "Oh, did you rent Citizen Kane?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did." And he's like, "Do you mind if I sit in with you?" I was like, "Oh no, pull up a chair. We'll make it work." So we sat down, and it's like I just started it, so I can rewind. It's okay. It's just the credits. So I just rewind it, and then we started it. And he stuck out his hand after we took a seat, and he stuck out his hand, introduced himself, his name, and I'm like, I'm Andres Segovia. And as soon as we're done greeting, he just looked at me and says, "So are you a Democrat or a Republican?" And I looked at him like, huh? We are in an intimate setting in a sound room, and we're supposed to watch a very lengthy movie. And the first question he asked me is not, "How are you?" Are you a Democrat or a Republican? And I looked at him and was like, "I'm a Republican." I didn't say that with any shame at all. It was more like, why the hell does that matter? We're gonna watch a movie. And then the body language said everything. I was like, oh, he just crossed his arms and leaned the other way. And then I kept looking like, what the hell? Dude, we're just starting Citizen Kane. I was like, what, a 2-3 hour movie? And I could tell you that we overcame that awkwardness. And we towards the end, we're just cracking up, just talking about the movie. And it would just next time we saw each other in class, like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And like, "Hey, just doing well." And we just talking movies. Why did politics need to be brought up in the first place? It didn't. But people try to label others, you know. And the discourse since then has only gotten worse. Absolutely worse. It's just that now it's like, hey, that's enough, man. I'm proud of who I am, and more people were standing up, and that is credit largely to the Charlie Kirks of this world. He's not around anymore. It's just so weird to even say that. I didn't follow him. Okay, so just to give you an idea, I didn't follow him on socials. I kept up with some of the events that he would do, but I didn't follow him because that's how much I didn't really need to be hearing his perspective because I developed my own and I'm sharing it. I'm a content creator myself. I can't follow everyone, but this that hit me hard. It really hit me hard because I understood the man. And 31 years young, a life taken away in such a brutal fashion. And, well, we can't attribute motive. We know who's been celebrating. And some of them have been calling for more. Just the one, "You're next." I've seen people posting up some stuff that's popping up on their DMs, like, "We got Charlie, you're next," kind of stuff. And I'm like, report these individuals. Report them. They're inciting violence. They're making threats and things like that. And it's just that's not the America I want to live in. But it's also a sad reality of where we are, and that I attribute to sin nature. It is as someone who is in the faith, Christian. That's what I know and believe. We all have the capacity to do something harmful to our fellow neighbor, and we're also the capacity to be kind. But that comes from the values that were instilled on us through our Judeo-Christian principles. So rest in peace, Charlie. That's a heavy one. Um, it just feels like it's nothing short of mourning for the past 24 hours, pretty much. I had a couple of good cries. Yeah, that one hurts. This one really hurts. For anybody that knows anything about history, you guys know the significance of this. It really hurts. And for those in the faith, I even asked this to my Instagram audience, and I promised them that I was going to read some of these posts. So I do have some. I asked my Instagram audience for those that wanted to, because they were pouring in the stuff as I was covering the news and just expressing themselves and sharing. So I promised to read some of them on the air, not mentioning names, and just reading their messages of support for all this. A lot of emojis too, so I can't read emojis, but uh, I'll find some of these and read them, such as truly shocked and saddened. Yeah, no, this is from yesterday, by the way. So incredibly heartbroken. Haven't been able to function today. Yes, a lot of that. This one, I had posted on Instagram this, and this is what I was getting at, that for those in the faith, you would understand what this means. I wonder if this is how the early church felt after Stephen was martyred, because he was the first martyr. And I said, make no mistake, Charlie Kirk was martyred. And I had people chiming in saying that's exactly what came to mind, Stephen. And I saw a video of an individual saying that, oh, he can't influence anybody anymore because Charlie Kirk is no longer around. I'm like, wow, you don't get it, do you? You have no idea. And if anybody knows anything about history with the early church, after Stephen passed away, and it looked like it was even darker because of the rise of an antagonist that was persecuting, chasing down, imprisoning, and in some case murdering those in the faith, which was Saul of Tarsus. He ends up becoming Paul the Apostle, who ends up writing the bulk of the New Testament. You know, what God meant for evil could turn to good. So a lot of people that are celebrating the heinous evil that took place think that's where it ends. Are you kidding me? It's inspired more people to stand up for their faith, to stand up with conviction, to speak loudly. Evil will not win. They will not silence this. Yeah. I saw a bunch of people say, oh, we're all Charlie Kirk now. I was like, okay, look, I get it. It's the I am Spartacus moment, but I get it too. I kind of feel that. I already read that one. This one, they're completely silent today. I mean, completely. Yeah, I know. I had made this post and people just showing their support for this, because like I'm not ashamed to have posted. Even my wife's like, "Why did you post that on Instagram?" I'm like, I wrote, "The last time I cried this hard was when I learned of a dear friend's tragic passing. That's the impact Charlie Kirk had on people that never met him." And she's like, "Well, why did you put that?" Like, because it's me letting them know that it's okay. That it's okay to cry. And people were just chiming in with same here, and I told my wife, like, that was my most liked post. Um, so the irony. This other one, yeah, I know. I like Dina Meyer's post. She just did actress Dina Meyer. All she did was just post up a dove of peace, a broken heart, praying emojis in America. I think that pretty much sums it up. She posted it today. Like, what words? What can you say? What can you say for anybody that really knew? And yeah. And then some people telling me that because of the demographic area that they live in, they've been surrounded by more people that have been cheering this on than actually like those in Huntington Beach, California, that had a vigil on the streets yesterday. There was a vigil that was done in Boise, Idaho, that ended up with some scuffles, some tense moments there. And the media continue to say that it's right wing extremism that's been the danger in all this. Like, what the hell? Where the hell have you been? Just in the past 18 months. It's like it's that kind of rhetoric that tries to justify what just happened yesterday. It's that kind of rhetoric that tries to justify how many schools now, how many Christian schools purposely targeted that have been shot up. Yeah. Uh, I don't intend to go on for that much longer, but there's just some stuff that I wanted to share, but I'll only share it on Rumble. So I'm gonna I'm gonna cut the feed for YouTube. I do appreciate you all that tuned in, and for those of you that are new around here, you'll probably see you look back at my post. This isn't stuff that I talk about on the show per se, but it's on my heart. You follow me in the social medias, most likely, especially Instagram, you'll find me be a lot more present with what where I speak my mind. But that's like Parlor and Instagram. X, I don't really care. That's everybody's there for. Like, yeah, but you know, I don't want to contribute to that algorithm. But for those interested, you can follow me across the socials at the Segovia on X _Segovia. I have the Segovia show over on Rumble. So I'll keep doing this on Rumble and for those of you on Substack, because now I want to move on to September 11th and also tell you about my weekend since it's 13th anniversary of the Benghazi attacks as well. 24 years since 9/11, 2001, and then 13 years since the Benghazi attacks. And yesterday, I was actually going to post up pictures and videos of me with a couple of the Benghazi heroes because I was at the range with them last weekend. And well, I couldn't post. How could I? Uh, I had to mourn for a life taken too young. But I take solace in that he's home. He's fought his good fight. I just his wife and two kids is that's what hurts. And as I was preparing to go live, two things. One, um, uh, Charlie Kirk's casket was. I saw it being uploaded about an hour ago now because I've been streaming to Air Force Two to be flown to Arizona, where his final resting place will be at home. But I also saw that there was a shooting at, and I should inform you all about this. This one was a shooting at. Uh, my goodness, it's just over and over again. A gunman has opened fire at U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, and multiple people have been shot. That was breaking news as to about the same time that the news was being shared about Charlie Kirk, his body casket being put into a plane and being flown back to Arizona. So some people say, how do we stop this? It's in nature. It's not all mental health. There's social engineering done because of rhetoric and hateful speak and all that stuff, but not all of it is a mental health issue. Not all of it is MK Ultra. It's sin nature. 'Cause at the heart of man, this happens. You cannot chalk up a lot of the atrocities happening across the globe to mental health. It's just that here in the United States, where we're supposed to be more safe and secure, we find it outrageous that this kind of evil can exist. But evil does exist. The sooner you get to realize that, the sooner you understand that this is not some government conspiracy theory, that these things happen. That doesn't mean that mental health doesn't play a factor. There's some people that have done so because of mental health. And could it have been prevented if they sought the proper treatment? That's always going to be a what if. Always going to be a what if. But people just try to find excuses and like to try to explain away evil. But to quote the usual suspects, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince everybody that he did not exist. So that's where I'll leave it for this, and I'll be following that story really close. And if you want updates about news and commentary and stuff, I do that on Instagram stories, not on my posts. But I will be posting maybe tomorrow or this weekend. I'll be posting some of the stuff that I participated over the previous weekend, with John Tick Tigan and Dave Boone Benton. heroes of Benghazi. But I'm going to reflect on that here to wrap up the stream. But for now, thank you, YouTube. I was supposed to work on my camera test for the unplugged phone. I don't think I'll be able to publish it next week as I had hoped. So, but if I can, you'll see it. So, thank you very much. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, YouTube. Now let's just switch over to Rumble and Substack.